Tom Downey here for Chat Sports. Day one of the NFL Combine in terms of testing is in the books. That means it is time for some winners and losers coming out of the Combine from the first day of testing. If you want us to do this, not just for the defensive tackles and ends and linebackers like we're about to get into, we want us to do it for quarterbacks and receivers, corners, offensive line, all of it. Like the video for me right now. We're going to get to the big winner, which I think was Shamar Stewart and his unbelievable testing. But I do want to begin actually with Landon Jackson. That is the Arkansas edge rusher. Part of the Combine is it's underwear Olympics. We know that. We acknowledge it. It's not the end of the world. You take it for what it is. It's also a good cross-check of like, okay, I think this guy's stiff. I think he's a great athlete. I think he's not a great athlete. Is a good athlete. And there is always players every year that I go, I am very surprised by that. I did not see Landon Jackson putting up the type of numbers that he did. A 4.69 40, a 40.5-inch vert, a 10.09 broad. Those are elite testing numbers for a guy that I didn't really think had that type of athletic. I thought he was more of just an edge setting, day two, good, very good player. I think this puts him in more of like the George Karlaftis range from some athletic testing standpoints. I did not see this one coming. So I'm going to go back and review Landon Jackson again and see if my eyes were deceiving me, because it certainly has not been the first time. It won't be the last time. So I was very impressed by Landon Jackson. Tip of the cap to him. But the big name, the big headline coming out of this tonight's testing, I should say, / today's testing, Shamar Stewart, the Texas A&M edge rusher. Now, we knew going in that he was going to put up freaky type numbers. This is some of the best testing that you will see. He checked in at 267. That was below his 281, closer to playing weight, which I think A&M did their players a disservice by having them play so heavy. Nick Scorton was the exact same way. He dominated. Didn't do the agility testing, which, hey, we got the agility before midnight this year, which is a massive win. 40-inch vert, 10.11 broad, a 4.59 40-yard dash at 6'5", 267 with 34 and 1/8 inch arms. That is just unbelievable height, weight, speed, physical profile. And you still go, how the hell did this guy have 4.5 sacks? That doesn't make any sense. Now, his pressures were way higher. They were significantly higher than what his other testing, or than what his stuff was. That's why my comp going into this, unless they tried to like bulk him up and add weight, which we're not going to do now, was I got Jadeveon Clowney vibes of like this freaky, gifted athlete who's able to do so much, but hasn't always been a finisher. His pressure was actually higher back in 2023 than it was in 2024. I think that the traits and even the flashes and the backfield pressure rates are higher than the sack numbers are. I think he's going to go very early. There is top 10 potential for Shamar Stewart, especially with what the testing confirmed, what some of the diehard film people already thought. So do you think that Shamar Stewart will go in the top 10? And I get the sack concerns. I get it. But I think it's a real possibility. Y for yes, N for no. It is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Next up is James Pearce. Now, this is a good sign to remind everybody. You don't want to count things twice. If you knew or thought going in this guy was a freaky straight line athlete, you don't want to overly count it and say, well, he gets it twice, so I'm going to boost him up because the fast guy I thought was fast was fast. And that was the case with James Pearce. He's very lean, 6'5", 245. He's got that Randy Gregory angular build. Arm length isn't the greatest. It's just a shade under 33-inch arms. The vert was bad. It was a 4.33 vert. Also, you ran 4.5 and a 10.03 broad. Like, that's really impressive stuff. And some of those numbers, by the way, from my boy at MathBomb on Twitter, or some of the unofficial ones, some stuff still being finalized, whatever, they'll go back. This guy is a very, very gifted straight line athlete. I have some concerns at times about the bend. I don't think it's the most consistent bend, but this is still a fantastic athlete who I think has very real round one potential and conversation in him. All right, let's move to Donovan Ezeiruaku. That is the Boston College edge. Now, he did not, by the way, official time for James Pearce was 4.47. I forgot to mention that. That's the official, I'm looking at the official numbers right now, updated ones. Did not do the 40-yard dash with Donovan Ezeiruaku. That's okay. He did the agility, he did the shuttle, and the three-cone. It was the two best three-cone, or I guess the best three-cone time by, it was 6.94. Next best was 7.06 with Barron Soroa, who we're talking about. 4.19 short shuttle, which was better than Braden Swinson at 4.33. So not a lot of players did it. I think I have a potential explanation for that here we'll get to in a little bit. But he was awesome. This is a bendy football player who I think does have a chance to go in round 1. Let's move to linebacker Jihaad Campbell here. That is some people think, hey, maybe he's got some edge potential to him. Maybe that's a path he ends up pursuing. I'd probably play him at off-ball linebacker. Again, I was very impressed by Jihaad Campbell. 4.52 official, 40-yard dash, 10.07 broad. I don't want to double count things. I think there's a lot of really interesting traits he's got. And I think I don't know if he goes round 1. I think he is a top 50, essentially lock, though. All right, Alfred Collins, the Texas defensive tackle, did not test, which does raise red flags for me, as we'll talk about later on. But the physical measurables, I do want to give him some love for. He's 6'5", 5'8", 332 pounds, and 34 5/8 arms. That's unbelievable size for a player. A lot of times you see guys like 6'5", 6'6", like Deion Walker, for example, who I'm still a truther of. They play with leverage issues. They play too tall. That is not the case for Alfred Collins. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. You can get in on the PrizePicks action. Best place to get real money sports action, including, by the way, some combine PrizePicks options for you. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can get in on some baseball PrizePicks action. There's, of course, basketball going on right now. There's, as I mentioned, some combine ones you can do, some running backs coming up down the pipeline here in the not-too-distant future. So go download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. Let's get some defensive tackles in here. Darius Alexander continues a very steady rise for the talented Toledo defensive tackle. Wasn't getting a lot of buzz, going into the draft process because it's a smaller school player. That's okay. The height, weight, speed, size combination is really intriguing. Almost 6'4", 305, 34-inch arms. The agility scores were not the greatest, but the explosion scores, the vert, the broad, the sub-5 40-yard dash. You're getting sub-5 40-yard dash. I am always intrigued by you. I think Derek Harmon also ran, by the way, of note, a sub-5 40-yard dash. Didn't do really any other testing. Both Alexander and Harmon ran 4.95, but Harmon didn't do any other testing, so I'm kind of focusing on guys with a little bit more physically complete profiles. I don't buy the round 1 buzz for Alexander, but I do buy the day 2 buzz, absolutely. All right, Ty Robinson, the Nebraska defensive tackle, is next up here. In general, this DT class is crazy deep. It is profoundly deep as we sit right now. So, and Robinson, another very intriguing player who maybe sneaks into day 2, but at least is going to be an early day 3 pick. 6'5", 288. The arm length isn't the greatest, but a 4.83, a 4.5 shuttle, a 33.5-inch vert, as you guys can see on screen for my guy at MathBomb. 9.11 broad, 9.11 broad. This is a very intriguing player who I have not gotten a chance to fully get to yet. There's always a couple of those guys, including Zeek Biggers. And first off, what a fantastic name for a defensive lineman. I am a name theory guy where if your name is cool, I think you're going to be a good football player. That's Zeek Biggers. I mean, what can you think of a better name for a defensive tackle? Outside of like Bull Rush McIntyre. Shout out Trev and Connor Rogers. Look, this is a 5.09 40-yard dash time, which isn't the greatest. It actually officially came in at 5.14, so a little bit lower than that. But a 34.5-inch vert, a 9.03 broad jump at 6'5", 321. Nearly 35-inch arms. He's going to be on my short list to watch in the near future. Now, who do you think was a combine winner so far? Focusing on DT, DE, and linebacker, obviously. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. I got to check who's next here. All right, Tyleik Williams. Now, I didn't do any testing. Fantastic size. I thought drills-wise, which I don't value the drills as much because I want to see athletic testing. I want to see sizes. Then I got the film for you. But I thought the drills were really good for Tyleik Williams. So I did want to give him a shout-out there on today's show. All right, some other miscellaneous players. I'm trying not to go in edge, DT, 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 L linebacker like I used to do. Trying to mix it up there. Fadil Diggs, that is the Syracuse edge rusher. Texas A&M did some, I think, criminal things to their defensive linemen, have Walter Nolan, Diggs, and Shamar Stewart not produce this past season. 4.57 40-yard dash. Let me double check, make sure that is still the official time for my boy Diggs. It is 4.57. The vert was not great. The broad was. He's a kind of a situational pass rusher at 6'4", 257. But again, you see the green on the rest, and it's relative athletic scores, right? Relative to your size, how athletic are you? Good stuff. Tyler Barron, this is the transfer section, I suppose. That is the Miami Hurricanes pass rusher, who again also put up very intriguing numbers here for the Miami Hurricanes. 4.66 40-yard dash, which I think is impressive. It came in actually, by the way, at 4.62 officially. Some of these were just a little bit outdated from when I grabbed the photos from MathBomb. Great vert numbers, great exposure numbers. Production hasn't always matched, but I am very intrigued by that. All right, next up is Kane Medrano, the linebacker from UCLA, an official 40 time of a 4.46. That is actually the fastest 40-yard dash time so far at the NFL Combine. Carson Schwessinger, who didn't do the 40, did some other testing. The exposure stuff was really good. Medrano, when you're 222, you got to run fast. He ran fast. Had great other numbers as well. I've watched Schwessinger. I'm very intrigued there. Medrano kind of intriguing my eye a little bit there, but I try to focus on just the guy I'm watching at one time. So I'm going to have to go back to him, or go to him, I should say. He's on my list. I'll get to him before the NFL draft. One more is Barron Sorrell, the edge rusher from Texas. Did have a bad slip on the turf at one point, which we'll talk about here in a second, by the way. Kind of maybe overshadowed by some other very talented Texas players. There's a lot to like here. He's a little thin. He's 258. I think he might have dropped a little bit of weight to test better at the Combine this year. 34-inch vert, but a 4.68 40-yard dash. I think day 3 is where he ends up going and could be a very productive day 3 player. Losers to come up next here. Do you want more NFL Combine coverage? If you do, then subscribe. It's free, simple. These end up being, by the time I get back to the hotel, this will have been like a 15-hour day. But I don't mind. I like doing this stuff. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. All right, next up is the turf change. They kind of changed the pellets a little bit, and I think that led to some slipping issues, which I don't have any solutions there other than just like, hey, I'm going to monitor to a little bit like the overall agility testing. I think some players maybe even withdrew when they saw people sliding. I'm going to see if there's any just general drop-offs, but I don't have enough of a sample size to really identify that at this time. All right, sometimes you're a loser because of things you can't control, and Abdul Carter hits that box. He's a stress fracture in his foot. He was unable to test. I don't think that's going to really cause any impact to his draft stock. We're going to sit down with Dane Brugler of The Athletic tomorrow and see what he's heard. I would think it's no real change to his draft stock, but it is something now you got to vet that you weren't going to vet previously. So any injury, any sting coming and being revealed means it's a negative. For me personally, I was upset that Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle from Michigan, wasn't able to test. He would have put on a show right alongside Shamar Stewart. At 332 or whatever his official size was, I think he would have broken 5 flat in the 40, which doesn't happen outside of Jordan Davis. I think it would have been that level of testing. So I'm honestly heartbroken that he had the hamstring strain, which the way it was phrased from the reporters was it wasn't like he had reported an issue, and it was just that he was told he has a hamstring strain, and he wanted to try to play through it, but they shut him down. So name some Combine losers here for me in the comments of today's show. Who is on your losers list? I'm going to group Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. I don't know why or Mason Graham, and then go ahead and go to Walter Nolan because the internet here is terrible and the graphics don't pull sometimes. Neither guy tested. Nolan and Graham did not go for undisclosed reasons, and that just sends off alarm bells for me. Why aren't you testing? The Indy track's pretty fast. Both those guys came in, especially Graham came in lighter than what he was listed at. So I don't really know why Graham did the bench press. Maybe in most cases it's because they didn't think they were going to test that well, which is kind of concerning because I thought both guys would test very well. So I'm not going to ding their draft stock right now, but I'm going to make a note of it. All right, Mike Green is next up here, the edge rusher out of Marshall. He didn't test, so again, same like red flag, like what's going on there? Hey, what are we doing? And then the sexual assault accusations are out there now. That has been confirmed. He confirmed it. I won't go too far in depth. I'm sure you guys have read the stories by now and everything and what he said. I'll give him some credit for addressing it so publicly, and I'm a believer in we do not need to blindly say either side is lying. I think that is a maybe negative habit that for anyone knows information, it's one side is wrong instead of allowing things to play out or one side is lying or whatever. But it is something NFL teams are going to have to vet. And the no testing part is why he's on here, but I couldn't not mention the allegations here. All right, JJ Pegues, who I'll give him credit. First off, was doing fullback drills too, which is electric, and I love it, and that is awesome. Except I have athletic testing concerns here, which are pretty valid and pretty concerning. 6'2" and a half, by the way. 309, and you don't want red on your stuff. That's not a good thing. The official 40 time came in at 515, so minimal boost there. The vert was kind of bad. He would look pretty good in the fullback drills, honestly. But if teams think you're a fullback and not a defensive tackle, you ain't going to go nearly as early. That said, he is a Charger on day 3. Lock it in. And then I always feel bad doing combine losers because I'm like, these are kids. I'm older now. I can say that they're kids to an extent, although at this point they're grown men too. But Jay Higgins lost himself some money tonight. This is bad. This is really bad testing. 4.82, that one's official as well. 40-yard dash. It came in at 6 foot 224. So he's not very big. He's slow. Didn't test well explosion-wise, and had 31-inch arms. I thought the production at Iowa was really good. But testing matters. Just because you're a bad tester doesn't mean you can't be good. Just because you're a bad tester doesn't mean you'll be bad no matter what. But they're outliers for a reason. And that's tough for Jay.